we have entered something that I'm calling the copy and paste makeup era, where everything looks the same. It started with dupes, and then the dupes kept coming and coming and coming. But this phenomenon describes more than just dupes. It's every single product is like the same thing in a slightly different font. The product styles are the same, the shades are the same, the packaging is incredibly similar, and I'm feeling bored. It's like beauty Groundhog Day every time I'm scrolling through Trend Mood lately, and I want to talk about it today in Makeup Musings. Now, obviously, similar products have always existed. I'm not going to sit here and pretend this started 5 years ago. This has always been a reality, and even outside of beauty, you could say the same about any industry. I think a place where this is really well illustrated is in fashion. I specifically think of a very current day example being ballet flats. After quite a hiatus, ballet flats became super trendy again about 2 years ago, and now you can find them everywhere. You know, prior to that, ballet flats existed, but they were not necessarily the it shoe. But now it's like any company that makes shoes, they've got a full line of ballet flats. You can get any color you want, any texture. You can get them with straps. You can get one with bows. Like, it's ballet flat mania. Obviously, when something is popular, a company is going to capitalize on that. That's just good business. And knowing all that, I'm still asking, like, you know, why does it feel like it is so much here in the beauty space? And I think a lot of it just boils down to the sheer number of beauty brands that have exploded in the last few years. And I've talked quite a bit on my channel about beauty brand incubators. They're essentially this like all-in-one company that is able to just churn out brand new beauty brands very quickly, and many of the launches from these brands they're creating are looking similar. And there's one specifically that I want to focus on, but there are a lot of beauty brand incubators. You know, many of our favorite brands like Fenty or ColourPop were created by this business model. You know, some of the more popular incubators include Kendra, which started Fenty, Seed, which started ColourPop, Mesa, they started like Kristen S, Flower Beauty. And Business of Fashion writes, incubators serve as a launch pad for brands, offering would-be founders a brand building shortcut by providing support in the form of data, capital connections to wholesalers, and other industry expertise. So through this business model, we have seen a bazillion beauty brands enter the market recently. And one that I think is really interesting that I want to focus on is Polite Society. I talked about this in my purchaser pass earlier this week because in my eyes, Polite Society illustrates this perfectly, because everything they have launched is like identical to something that is already on the market. So Polite Society was started by the beauty brand incubator Toybox. Now, that name might not mean much to you, but Toybox was actually started by the original founders of Too Faced, Jared Blandino and Jeremy Johnson. So as you may know, they sold Too Faced to Estee Lauder in 2016 for $1.45 billion. And then years later, pretty recently, they started Toybox. So Toybox is supposed to be this brand incubator, and they have the hope of making this beyond just beauty. So at this time, they have 2 brands under this umbrella, the first one being Polite Society, which we're going to get into, but funny enough, they also have one called Diamond Drunk. So Diamond Drunk is a jewelry cleaning company, like they sell jewelry cleaner. And they sell expensive jewelry cleaner. Let me clarify. Their cleanser for like your necklaces, your everything, retails for $75. Now, maybe I'm just like not in the loop with how much jewelry cleaner costs. So I did a little Google search because I'm like, wait, is this standard? And I don't know what's going on. But no, that's rather high, but that's their other brand at the moment. So they've got Diamond Drunk and Polite Society. And the reason I bring them up is because I think that Polite Society perfectly illustrates the copy and paste makeup phenomenon, the epidemic that we are experiencing right now. Because this brand launched at Ulta, with an entire line of products that looks identical to things that Ulta already sells. Like, there is not a single thing they have launched where I'm like, okay, innovation. It's the squeezy tube lip balms that everyone has already done, which I will say, so many of you have shared with me that the Polite Society squeezy tube lip balms are amazing. So maybe I need to give in and try them. But they have squeezy tube lip balms. They've got a blush stick. They have packaging that in my eyes looks very similar to something like Florence by Mills or maybe even Pacifica, which I actually find a little ironic because the motto from Toy Box, which, you know, created Polite Society, is actually to F average, be legendary. You know, they say on their own website they want to be fabulously destructive. They want to be doing new things, doing different things, which ironically is what so many of these beauty brand incubators say while launching the same products over and over and over again. And it's definitely not just Polite Society or Toy Box brands, like it's everyone. Again, on some level, this all makes sense. Like naturally, brands are going to come out with products that they've seen be successful in the past. That just feels like a safe bet compared to trying to innovate something brand new and hoping it will be successful, but that's a lot more of a gamble. Though we do have one brand that I really want to focus on today that in my eyes is doing it beautifully, but we'll get there. But it's really interesting because we've seen this happen both with these similar products that are maybe not actual dupes, but they're all like, again, same thing, different font, but also especially with dupes. I coined my little fake word a few months ago of duplification because it just feels like every single product is a dupe these days. And what really did it for me was the new launch that ColourPop is coming out with. They are now doing the click up pens, and we talked about this also in my purchase or pass video because ColourPop is now, I believe, like the 6th or 7th brand to launch this almost identical product in identical packaging, all trying to emulate what Tarte has done so successfully. It feels like the 2024 equivalent of everyone trying to dupe the Charlotte Tilbury blush. And the funny part is, no one really liked the applicator of the original Charlotte Tilbury blush, but every brand that tried to emulate that product did it with identical packaging. And I'm feeling the same way about these click up lip pens. For me, I don't like the click up function of the packaging, but that is what everyone is replicating. In the beginning, I feel like these dupes were incredibly exciting. You know, we're getting a drugstore alternative to our favorite splurgy items, but it gets to a place where it's become so repetitive and monotonous, and I'm just like, how many dupes do we need? Are they really that different? And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you like having a wide variety? Do you like seeing, you know, like who can do it better? Can someone dupe this at a higher quality for a lower price point? Because it definitely benefits the consumer on that end, but I have just felt so much fatigue with these launches and just duplification in general. I feel like, you know, in Mean Girls when they're like, stop trying to make fetch happen. I know you guys are like, Kelly, stop trying to make that a word. By the way, this is the NYX Buttermelt bronzer that I mentioned in another video. I picked up the shade Buttercup. I'm obsessed with this these days. Okay, I actually don't like to use that word. I haven't owned this long enough to be obsessed, but I've been enjoying it a lot. I've been reaching for it a ton. It's this beautiful like rosy tone. I feel like it gives you that kind of burnt from the sun, but still bronzy look. It just looks super natural and kind of combines blush and bronzer, but I am still gonna use blush. The blush I've been using pretty much every day lately is this one from r.e.m. It's specifically the shade Peach Planet. This color is my obsession at the moment. Did I just say I'm not gonna say obsessed? But the dupes conversation has got me thinking a lot about what dupes used to look like, because they used to be a little more covert back in the day. Like, I remember when a dupe was a lot harder to find, and if anything, you were kind of stumbling upon these by accident. And like, dupe videos on the internet were huge because not everything had a dupe back in the day. People were either finding dupes on accident or like intentionally going out of their way to seek them out because it wasn't necessarily obvious. Products weren't launching with the intention of being a dupe. It was just like a happy accident when you found one. And the example that comes to mind for me is Milani Luminoso duping NARS Orgasm. Now, I know there was some debate, like, is it that similar? And I mean, maybe today by dupe standards, not so much. But at the time, the internet was in a frenzy, like, oh, this is a really similar blush. And Milani didn't launch that thinking, okay, let's copy what NARS has done. No, they just launched like a peachy orange blush shade, and then people realized how similar they were. And sometimes maybe the dupes were a little bit more intentional, but they still weren't even as similar as they are today in 2024. An example again I'm thinking of is the Benefit Professional when Maybelline launched the baby skin. That one, like, you could tell they were kind of trying to dupe it. We've got some similar color vibes and packaging going on, but the products really weren't identical either. Like, they were different pigment, like the texture was different, but they gave you a similar result on the skin. Not anymore. These days, people want the dupiest dupe of all. To the point, again, where brands are launching like dupe after dupe after dupe, and then there's the hunt from consumers of what's the closest dupe. And this has been a very successful strategy for a lot of affordable brands, which I will say, it's been very weird. Okay, it's made sense for me when drugstore brands are doing the duping. I'm like, yes, naturally, that's what consumers want. But now that we've got high-end brands like Tarte trying to dupe other high-end brands, that's when I can't wrap my head around it, and I'm like, wait, why are we doing that? But when it comes to the drugstore, the brand that has done it so successfully obviously is e.l.f. And I talked pretty extensively about this in my video about e.l.f. and Charlotte Tilbury that I can leave linked down below. But e.l.f.'s most popular dupe is their Halo Glow Primer, which was designed to kind of replicate the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter Primer. That has been wildly successful for e.l.f. It was their best-selling product of 2023. It was the focus of their Super Bowl ad this year. It has been incredibly successful for e.l.f. And again, I talked about this in the e.l.f. video too, or the e.l.f. Charlotte Tilbury video, so I will leave it linked. But even the e.l.f. CEO has talked pretty extensively about how much e.l.f. themselves leans into dupes specifically as their business model at this point. Like, they are setting out to dupe prestige brands. And you know, to compare the dupes we have today to the dupes of the past, because you know, when I think again of the example of the baby skin versus the Professional, we had some similarities in the packaging there, but these days these dupes are like shouting from the rooftops that they're dupes. I again want to go back to the Flawless Filter example because I think it's such a prominent example, but the packaging mirrors the high-end version. The name, like, they're even throwing in the same words in the name. You know, we've got the Hollywood Flawless Filter, the Halo Glow Liquid Filter. These dupes truly are shameless these days. But the brand that I alluded to earlier that in my eyes is still launching really unique things despite everything else being a copy of something else, Danessa Myricks. I just have so much admiration for Danessa Myricks, the person, the makeup artist, and what she has done with her company. In a sea of the same products over and over and over again, she is launching really unique items, and that is incredibly intentional. And she has said herself in interviews that it is really the opposite of what everyone else in the beauty segment is doing right now. I'm going to link an interview that she did. It's a YouTube video down below, but specifically in that video, she notes, "As I worked with brands behind the scenes, it seemed very homogenous and very much based on what happened last year. What shade was hot? Let's make that same shade this year too." And she noted that in her company, she wanted to do the opposite of that. And today, I'm actually going to use the bestseller from Danessa Myricks. I picked this up specifically for this video because I'm like, you know, we have to. It's on theme. This is the Color Fix in the shade Jewelz. I'm going to use this on my eyes. Now, this is probably not necessary, but I'm going to start with an eyeshadow primer just because I always use an eyeshadow primer. I'm very prone to creasing, but the backstory of the Danessa Myricks brand I found really interesting, and I think it fits really well into this conversation because the brand Danessa Myricks Beauty was obviously started by the person, Danessa Myricks, but her story is a bit unusual in this space. Didn't get into beauty until she was 30, and prior to this, she was working at a corporate job, and it was at a magazine. The magazine closed down, and she needed to find a new job, so she took a huge pivot in her life and got into beauty, started applying makeup on clients. And I listened to a lot of interviews from her for this video, and one thing she noted was that when she was first getting into beauty, she didn't have a lot of money to spend on products, so she was reaching for products that would do a lot of things at once. She specifically used the example of buying a 99-cent eyeliner and then using that product for multiple steps in her routine, you know, to be the eyeshadow, to be the eyeliner, to be many different steps of the face. And she said that was kind of the inspiration for this product right here, Color Fix, because for her, she was reaching for products that were going to be all in one like that and do a lot of different things. And this particular product comes in, this sounds like it's like sponsored by her. She literally doesn't even know who I am. I'm just a huge fan of the brand, and I think they're doing really innovative things in this space, so I thought it fit into the video. But with the Color Fix, it comes in a lot of different shades, and you can use it for like blush, bronzer, highlight, literally anywhere on the face. Wow, look at this. This is so not me, but I'm kind of loving it. And also in a lot of these interviews, she was noting that she creates makeup when she sees like a hole in the industry. She's not just doing what is already successful and then repeating it the way most brands are. She's looking for something that doesn't exist and then filling that hole. And she's really set out to include people that have previously been overlooked by makeup brands. She wants her brand to be incredibly accessible. And I knew I wanted to highlight her brand specifically because I didn't want this video to be just like, oh, everything sucks these days, everything's so bad and boring, because there are brands doing unique things, even when it feels like every single launch is the same. Okay, I just laid this down a little bit. I did notice it dried pretty quickly, so that's something for me to be mindful of in the future, that I should move pretty fast. It's harder to do when I'm talking on camera, but just to kind of add a little cohesion to the eye look, I'm just gonna take some brown eyeshadow. This is from Natasha Denona, My Mini Glam, and I'm just gonna kind of lightly throw this through the crease, kind of tie this look together. But this is such a fun green shade. I like how duochromatic it is. You look at it and it's not too much going on, but it's still like very bold and unique. Now for mascara, we're going to use the new brown mascara from Rudi and Beaubble. But sticking with Danessa Myricks, I was reading an interview she did with Pop Sugar where she said, when I think about the future of the brand, I don't want it to just be a brand. I want it to be a company that makes people feel something. I want to break barriers, reinvent, reimagine how people think about makeup. If I can't reimagine, rethink, rediscover, or move the industry and our ideas around beauty forward, I'm not going to make it. And for me, that's what really sets her brand apart from so many of these others. There's a pretty clear difference there when you look at her as a founder and her story. She has a passion for the artistry, and that's really reflected in launches. And it really contrasts a lot of these newer brands that we're seeing really exploding, and especially coming from these incubators. Beauty is obviously a very profitable industry. McKinsey, which is a consulting firm, predicts that the global beauty market retail sales will be just under 600 billion by 2027. They note the glow of the beauty industry has proved hard to resist, attracting many new companies and investors. It tends to be pretty clear which of these new brands just want to get a piece of that pie compared to the brands that are actually passionate about the artistry. We see this very clearly with a lot of these new up-and-coming brands. Many of them are not necessarily started by makeup artists or someone in the industry that's truly passionate and lives and breathes makeup. You know, a lot of these are started for the sole purpose of making money, which I'm not suggesting is a bad thing. At the end of the day, that's what all business is intended to do. But you can see a very clear difference between the brands that have a passion for makeup compared to a lot of these other brands that really are just going like the copy and paste route, launching things that they know will be a safe bet. Okay, wait though, good news. I'm actually liking this makeup today. Love the eyeshadow. I have a little mascara on my eye. We're gonna get that. But I always say when I'm trying to do a chatty makeup video where I'm speaking while I'm applying it, it normally turns out horrible. because I'm so focused on what I'm saying, but I feel like today it's coming together, and thank goodness, because I'm supposed to meet my friend after this, and I'm like, please, Kelly, don't mess up your makeup this time. Very ironic lip combo here because I'm going to be using a squeezy tube lip balm, and like this style of product was like most of the inspiration for this video because we have 5 bazillion squeezy tube lip balms, but yesterday I did this combo and I loved it so much. Wait, no, it wasn't this shade. Hold on. It was this shade. It was in my purse. Okay, this is Tower 28 Lip Softie in Watermelon Kiwi. But first, like a pinky nude lip liner. So this is from Exa. The shade is called Bare Your Soul. Okay, that first, but I think we'll add like a slightly darker lip liner too, actually. This is Nudist from Jones Road. Now Tower 28 time. Okay, I love this. Now, as much as I want to say, yeah, we're so bored, give us something different, which is true, I also recognize that clearly it's working because we're buying them. We're still excited about them. Here I am using another squeezy tube lip balm. And for many of these brands, their best-selling products are these similar things or these dupes. So I get it and I see both sides of it, but I want to know from you, are you bored? Are you over it? Or do you love it? Thank you so much for watching. I'll have my makeup musings playlist in the description box, and I will go ahead and see you in my next one. Bye.